The majority of police were just known as horrible. Nobody respected the police. Nobody didn't like the police because the way they just went about it. This sus thing was a thing that they could just come up to a one and just stop him. He's not asking no questions. He wants to go into your pockets. How can you gain respect from somebody that's just going to deal with you like that? No explanation. And if you argue, they're just going to want to nick you. Because that's all they had. The slightest argument that you gave them, they just want to nick you. And as I said, they'll only bang you up in the station for a little bit, for how much hours, and then let you out. So obviously, all they've done is just built up bare animosity.
The mistrust between the black community and the police was there. The mistrust between young black youths and society was there. And so it was inevitable that something like this was going to happen.
Well, the riots kicked off because of the same kind of misuse of their powers towards black people. And basically that is the whole reasons for the riots, you know. And that triggered from Brixton all around England, you know, like a chain reaction. You know, and black people decided, well, yeah, this is maybe the time to make a stance against such persecution.
We heard that there was riots, there was, you know, trouble with the police down in Brixton. So, again, still at school, young youths wanted to see what was going on. Elder sister, her friends, my friends of my age, we've all gone basically taken a walk down to Brixton. Couldn't believe to see so much people gathered, angry, in one place, you know. And it didn't really, during the day it didn't really start. It was just like gatherings of people until like the evening, and I think that's when all hell broke loose.
It was dark, a lot of street lighting was out, it was quiet, there was no road traffic at all. There was just the helicopter I should say, with the searchlight. I remember I seen, and these huddles of police officers behind there who would move in groups towards people or move back away, and that was it. There was that standoff. People were standing around the edges, out their doors, looking out the windows and watching events unfold.
Me and my friends had ended up on Ferndale Road, and whilst we were making our ways back down into Brixton, well, by Frank Johnson's and where the garages are, about 15 SPG vans just pulled up, and police just jumped out on everybody. There was a guy actually on the road with a ball and chain, dragging the ball and chain on the road that I remember, and the police jumped out. They jumped out, about 15 vans, and basically rushed everybody that was on the road and lined them up against the corrugated, and was going in their pockets and turning their hands, telling them to put their hands out, and turning their hands over to see if there was any brick residue, to see if anybody's thrown any bricks or any bottles or anything like that. And you know, it'd come to me, and the police officer, he grabbed my hands and he looked at both hands, and he just hit me with his baton across my leg. I still got the mark now. He hit me across my leg, and I was so frightened that I couldn't tell my mother for years, because that was my first experience of basically police brutality, for doing nothing, for being maybe in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's how I put it down. But I'll tell you what, from that incident, that really turned me off the police, because I knew that I had done nothing at all. Basically just observing with my friends. We didn't loot, we didn't throw anything, but we were just lined up. My friend got punched in his belly as well, And we was at school because we went back to school the Monday and we spoke about everything that had happened. So we were school kids, and that was my first experience basically with the police. Oh, there was loads of cars turned over in the middle of the road, on fire. Shops now, basically, you know, that they started to be looted. We didn't have shutters back in those days, so, you know, it was just basically going through the glass. There was so many. A lot of businesses never opened back in Brixton. They closed for life.
It changed some of the way that police thought they could go about their everyday policing, you know, very slowly, you know, but surely they had to change their mannerisms and their communication with black people in the communities, because they realized that if they kept on going on the way they was going on, that things would not get better and maybe much worse.
I think it's greatly improved, the relationship between the black community and the police. Nowadays we have a number of different consultative parts. So for instance, we have the Safer Neighbourhoods team. Every ward has its own Safer Neighbourhood team, which is a small group of officers, normally with a sergeant, a police officer and 3 or 4 PCSOs. And within those wards, what those small teams do is they consult those neighbourhoods and residents in there, and they ask them what are their concerns around policing.
In that time, I've met some decent police officers. And whether they're genuine or not, I don't know. But you always give somebody the opportunity to show himself, reveal himself. And as I said, the officers that I've met, they've kind of stood up. They've stood up, and they'll get my respect. 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 They'll get my respect.